Hey, rookies, Jeff. Week 8 was good to me. 11-5 straight up, 4-2 on premium picks. I also hit a 14 teaser for and a couple of unit plays. Overall, 72-50 straight up, about 59%. Jeff, how was your week 8?
So straight up was great. I went 14-2 straight up. And my ATS picks were 9-4, which is kind of weird because I had 3 pushes this last week, so didn't have all my 16 games there. But my premium picks were only 1-1-1, so that wasn't very impressive.
So where are you at now, Jeff, on the straight up?
Straight up, I am 79-42.
79-42. So you are seven games in front.
Okay.
It's tough. That's tough to overcome. I'm gonna have to have a couple of 14 game weeks at least to catch up. But hey, you can get all our picks here at rookiesbeatbookies.com, where you can get all of our season picks for a low price of $75. We're up on Instagram, TikTok, and X, and we continue to put out our content on those sites. So check us out. Jeff and I are going head to head. Jeff's up 7 so far on the straight up picks. So we'll see how we finish up here. Week 9 is a tough set of games with 5 fewer quarterbacks in the league, it appears. Cousins is done for the year. Stafford's thumb looks to put him out in week 9. Pickett looks to be iffy with ribs, but I guess he's playing. Taylor is out, so it looks like Jones will be back in New York. Ritter's out in concussion protocol in Atlanta, and Watson still didn't practice this week and doesn't look like he's going to play. London, Waller, Bourne. Keep an eye on following Parker on the head. Samuel had a toe, Etienne the ankle, Palmer a knee, Sutton his shoulder, and Deontay Johnson unspecified, but looks like he's playing. Jeff, what do you think about the injuries and the quarterback situation in the NFL this week?
Well, the 2 things that I usually try and factor into my point spread as far as injuries is a quarterback injury or multiple injuries on the same side of the ball. And of course, Minnesota now has both of those. They've got the quarterback out, they've got their leading receiver out. So that's a huge impact on my outlook for Minnesota.
Yeah, we had some big trades occurred, and the rich got richer in this league. Chase to the 49ers to stiffen up that defense. Bills picked up cornerback Douglas. Bears picked up Sweat from the Commanders. Seems like Washington threw in the towel on the season this year. Lions trade for People Jones, adding some weapons for their playoff run. Jags pick up Cleveland to strengthen their O-line, which was a big pickup in my opinion, probably the best pickup of all of them. The Vikings pick up Dobbs from Arizona. They got Nick Mullins hurt. Obviously, Cousins is out for the season. And then you have Jalen Hall going to start for them. Seahawks acquire Williams from New York. Pretty big move there. Baird moves to Philly. Hardman's back in Kansas City. Van Jefferson travels to Atlanta. That'll add some depth to that receiving core. Gregory is going to the Bay. So not only did San Francisco pick up Chase, they also picked up Gregory from Denver. And, he used to be pretty good for the Cowboys. If he has any gas left, that could be a huge, huge pickup. And Claypool was dealt to Miami. So let's see how that works. He's got 2 great wide receivers there, and he's a big wide receiver, not bad in the slot. He may be a pretty decent slot receiver, or at least a number 3 or 4 coming off of the bench there, helping out Miami. So that could get him, back in the mix and being a much better ball player. Not having to be the number 1 guy, number 2 guy to go to. So Jeff, thoughts on injuries? Or no, you talked about the injuries, but thoughts on these moves? Seems like it feels like this is more like the NBA than the NFL.
This was more moves than we used to expect. So maybe this is the new norm because the last couple of years have increased each year. But yeah, teams like Washington trading off half of their defensive line certainly seems like they're throwing in the towel. And it's just like in multiple injuries on the same side of the ball. It's going to impact, how I bet the game.
Yeah, you know, I mean, those are football decisions, not those are business decisions, not football decisions, right? And so how are the other players going to react? I think is, I mean, they weren't traded, but you know, are they going to feel like the season's done, or are they going to fight? Now they're like, okay, we're talking business, so now I'm going to fight for my job and play hard. And I think you could have either outcome, right?
You could. It just seems like it's got to be a little deflating for the defense. So I think they're going to struggle defensively, which should increase scoring on their games, but it's also going to make it hard for them to win anything.
Yeah, and you know, they played hard against, they could have won that game last week, losing
Yep.
at 38-31. We predicted that one too. That was going to be close. We anticipated that. Hey, speaking of last week, we saw 4 dogs went outright. The dogs covered 7 and 8 ATS with a push. They did great. The games had much more offense as the totals were 8 and 8, so dead even. You know, that's just normal now, but this year that's a lot because we've had so many weeks where it's gone way under. We have 4 teams on bye this week: Broncos, Lions, Jags, and 49ers. And in week 10, we have the Chiefs, Rams, Dolphins, and Eagles all going on bye. I like to fade teams the week before they're going on bye week, and I'll do that again this week. But I can't get all 4 of them because the Chiefs and Dolphins are playing against each other. Thoughts on week 9? Do dogs continue to cover ATS? And what do the totals look like this week overall, Jeff? What are you thinking?
Well, they definitely are getting better at totals and spread. My 3 pushes last week kind of speak to that. And I am seeing almost an even split this week. I've got 6 unders, so maybe a little bit on the overside. And then we've also got, you know, some of those weird games that I would normally have picked something completely different. But what do I do with, you know, the Raiders getting rid of their coaching staff? And how does the Giants respond to basically being out of it? So a couple of non-statistical things to think about here.
Yeah, and you know, if your bankroll's doing okay, you don't have to bet those games either. I certainly won't be. I mean, you know, I'll pick them straight up, but I'm not putting much money there, other than maybe in a parlay. Hey, we're going to kick it off in Germany with the Dolphins and Chiefs fighting for the AFC Conference Championship. Don't count out the Ravens though. In the first round bye in the playoffs, KC is favored by 2.5, and the over/under is set at 50.5. The Chiefs struggled last week against the Broncos D, putting up 9 points. And they are a different defense that the Dolphins face, dropping 70 in week 3. Obviously, the Broncos got a lot of players back and they're playing a lot better defense. But the Chiefs are number 1 in point, or the Dolphins are number 1 in points scored, 33 a game. First in every yard category on offense, and the Chiefs D seems to be struggling a bit in the last 3 games. The Dolphins team's going to give the Chiefs a hard time here. Do you like the Dolphins on a neutral field? What do you think, Jeff?
It's definitely not a strong lean either way in this game, but I do think Kansas City does great after a loss. They just don't lose 2, or Mahomes doesn't lose 2 in a row. Should be feeling better after the flu game last week, and I just think they will have enough to pull it out, but the over looks good in this one to me.
Yeah, the over does look good to me, and I do like the Chiefs as well, although I won't be putting a lot of money on it because the Dolphins could pull it out as well. Next up, we have the Vikings traveling to Atlanta. The Dirty Birds are favored by 5.5, 4.5, 5.5. I'm seeing the line, and the over-under set at 37. Taylor Heineke gets a start for the injured Ritter, and the Vikings start their rookie Jaron Hall out of BYU. He gets a nod for the fight. Recall they traded for Dobbs, so he could play if needed. Osborne, Powell are questionable at the wide receiver position, and Jefferson remains on IR. For Atlanta, London did not practice on Wednesday, but they did pick up Van Jefferson. Hopefully they get London back, but Van Jefferson will add some depth and strength and a little bit of pop to the Falcons offense. And expect Heineke to throw the ball downfield more. And I expect him to get Pitts involved a little more at the tight end position. I like the Falcons to win here at home. The spread and total seem about right. Jeff, does a rookie quarterback get it done this week in his first start?
Well, this was a difficult one for me to pick because of the injuries, but it goes to my thought on multiple injuries on the same side of the ball. So more than worrying about the replacement, I'm just looking at loss of continuity and stuff like that with Minnesota's offense. So I am going with Atlanta in this game.
Okay, I am too. I like the Vikings as a team, but with Cousins gone for the season, I think there's too many holes now. Hey, next up, the Cardinals travel back east to face, the Brown. Is that game in Cleveland or is that game in the desert?
It's in Cleveland.
It's in Cleveland. Okay, so that is right. I'm sorry. So the Cardinals travel back east to face the Browns. They're 8-point dogs with the over-under set at 37.5. Murray does not look like a go, and neither does Watson. Arizona traded Dobbs, and it looks like they're going to start Tune, a rookie out of Houston. That being said, if Murray, is able to go, this one could easily go over, as Murray is that kind of electrifying player and would bring a spark to the Cards against the Browns. They just wouldn't be ready for it. So this bet is a game time decision for me. Obviously, if Murray can't go, then I think this thing goes way under the total. I see the Browns covering, but this could be a letdown spot at home. Jeff, anything here you like?
Well, I agree with it being a game time betting decision because Kyler Murray start could certainly throw things off. But with Tune starting, even though Watson's not playing either for Cleveland, I just think Cleveland at home is too good defensively, and I don't see Arizona keeping it close. So definitely a Cleveland easy win.
Easy win for the Cleveland Browns. All right, the Rams travel to Lambeau Field, taking on the Packers, and are 3-point road dogs with the over-under set at 39.5. Stafford's banged up and has really never played well at Lambeau Field, if he can go anyway. The Rams' offense scores 21 a game, gives up 23, but their time of possession is 11th best in the league. And so they can eat the clock if they need to, running the football, even with their running backs out. Henderson's been a good fill-in. Packers are opposite at 31st in time of possession, and they leave their defense on the field for a lot of snaps. That D is giving up 22 a game. I would stay away from this one and wait till game time. But if Stafford does not play, I think Green Bay wins. I'm not sure if they cover here. Jeff, any value in either team this week?
Right now, I'm picking what you were just saying. You would think I've got Green Bay to win straight up, but the Rams to cover. Quarterback change could sway me a little bit to go Green Bay to cover as well, but I think I would probably stick with them either way as the winner.
Yep, I think we're in agreement there. Next up, the Pats host the Commanders, favored by 3.5, and that number changed around a little bit after all these trades. The over-under set 40.5. The Commanders trade away their defensive side of the ball, but basically feels like they've thrown in the towel. They also expended quite a bit of energy in their loss last week at home against Philly. This seems like a good spot for the Pats situationally. The Pats remain anemic on offense, scoring 14 a game, and their defense is giving up 26 a game. So this feels like a spot the Commanders should win. But I'm going to go the other way with the business side of football hitting the Commanders right in the face. That being said, maybe this motivates the players as we talked about. Jeff, who do you like here? Anyone?
I'm leaning New England both straight up in the cover. I think the issue with letting people go is going to be a psychological play, but I also think the Washington defensive line was going to be their strength to focus on. So I think that's going to really come into play. I think you can get some more time to pass for New England. So I'm going New England here, and I would think they cover this one.
Yep, you heard it here. I'm in agreement. I like the Pats to cover and get to 3 and 6. Hey, the Bears travel to the Big Easy to take on the Saints. The Saints are favored by 7.5. The over-under set at 41. The rookie looked bad last week against the Chargers after a solid first start. The Bears just couldn't get much done against an average defense in the Chargers. Now you travel to play the fast defense in the Dome in New Orleans. Not sure they score too much here. The Saints can score when they need to, and they can keep up with teams, but they prefer to ball control you and check you down, eating up clock and letting the defense finish you off. 41 here feels too many. Feels more like a 27-6 game to me. I like New Orleans to win and cover. Jeff, which team's getting in New Orleans?
I'm in agreement on this one. Yeah, the Chicago team just doesn't impress me at all. There were a lot of trade rumors for Chicago players at the deadline, so they understand where they're at. And New Orleans has a lot more to play for, and they're playing at home. So I think emotionally as well as talent-wise, New Orleans got the edge here.
Yeah, the Bears did pick up a player, but they got rid of Claypool, which was kind of a thorn in their side. But they picked up a pretty decent defensive lineman. I'm not saying that's going to make a difference against the New Orleans team, but that adding anything to that defense is going to make it better at this point. So maybe they get a little bit of a kick, not for this week, but for the rest of the season. We'll have to check that out. Hey, the Ravens host the Seahawks and are home favorites by 5.5. Sometimes I've seen 6. The over-under here is 43. What's my free pick? I think the Ravens here to cover laying 5.5. It also feels like this thing gets over. With Andrews back, the offense feels so good to watch when they're clicking, and they have been lately. The Seahawks are good, and they played well, but traveling east and that early start with the Ravens D getting healthier, I think the offense struggles a bit here. And the Ravens get over the number and get over the spread. Keep in mind the Ravens D is number 1 in points allowed at 15 a game. And there are 3 home games so far, the fewest in the league. So they've played 5 games on the road, 3 games at home. So they're in good shape for the remainder of this year playing at home. But keep in mind those 3 games were 9, 22, and 6 points. And the 22 was against the Indianapolis Colts. It's kind of a fluke game, and it was one of those, Indianapolis-Baltimore rivalries. They're good defensively, and they're really good defensively at home, and I think that keeps up. With the team playing 6 of the 9 at home, I think this is the likely AFC North champion, and I think they're going to end up number 1, and they're going to get that first-round bye despite Kansas City, Buffalo, and the Dolphins. I mean, they played a tough schedule on the road, and they're going to get rewarded with a home schedule. They got a 3-game homestead coming up, and this weekend beating the Hawks is the first one. Jeff, who do you like in Baltimore?
Well, I've been a Baltimore fan. Them in Detroit. I'm kind of bandwagon for those 2 this year. So I'm definitely taking Baltimore to win. I was thinking that Vegas had it pretty close on the points. I'm probably staying away from this one because it's right about my cutoff. But Baltimore should certainly win the game.
Yep. All right. My first free pick is take the Ravens. If you get them at 5.5, more better. If you get them at 6, I would still take them at 6. Gets to 7, I'd lay off. Next up, the Bucs travel to Houston to take on the Texans and are road dogs at 2.5. The over/under set at 40. Mayfield has played well on the road so far this season, going 2-1 and coming close in that loss to the Bills. Defensively, the Bucs are giving up 18 a game, same as the Texans. I'm not sure how this thing gets over the total at 40. I'm not sure who's going to do the scoring. I like the Texans, but they lost 2 centers so far this season. So they've got a center guard that's kind of a veteran that's filling in. And the O-line's given up 15 sacks so far, and I think that number goes up this week against the Bucs. I like the under as well here, but I like Tampa Bay on the road. Jeff, who do you like in Houston?
I'm going to side with you on this one. I'm going Tampa Bay, but it is by 1/10 of a point. This is a toss-up. It's close to a toss-up as I get in my spreadsheet. And I also think, even though he was from the Austin area, Mayfield coming back to Texas, probably has some, family coming to see. And so, I could certainly see playing a little inspired.
Yeah, for sure. And you know how I feel about centers going down. I mean, the center Patterson went down last week, and it had an effect clearly on the Texans losing that game late in the game. And they've got two down, so now they've got a guards moving to center. There can be an error. There's going to be some blocking errors at least, and there could be some exchange errors as well that you got to account for. Could happen deep in their territory, and that changes the game. I like the Bucks. Next up, the Panthers host the Colts and are home dogs at 3 points. Over under set of 44. Two teams I lost on straight up last week, but got the cover with the Panthers ATS. Disappointing effort by the Colts D against the Saints. Will they show up against the old coach and Frank Wright? Not sure. The AFC is better this year than the NFC, but laying chalk with the Colts team is an iffy proposition. Who gets it done in Carolina, Jeff? Any thoughts?
It's not a strong feeling, but I think Carolina takes this game. One, playing at home, and two, the rookie on rookie matchup from last week with Carolina winning. I'm thinking that might actually help him take the next step this season. So I think he'll improve now. So I'm going Carolina.
Going Carolina. I forgot who I went. I'm not sure. I didn't like to make this bet at all, straight up or against the spread. But because we're playing a competition, I have to bet someone. Will have to take a look at the end. I'm not sure who I went with actually.
All right.
Yeah, the Cowboys travel to Philly to take on the 7-1 Eagles. The Eagles are favored by 3, and the over-under is 47. Just like I predicted last week, it looked like Philly was looking past the Washington Commanders to this matchup and almost got caught. The Cowboys easily got past the LA Rams. Are looking good at this point in the season. The offense is second in points per game at 28, fourth in points allowed at 17. The issue I see is they do not possess the ball for a long period of time, so they need to score to keep up with opponents. Meanwhile, Eagles are third in scoring at 28 a game. They give up 21 a game, but they are first in time of possession. They just grind you down when they get the lead. That being said, I like Dallas here, and I expect them to win it outright, covering the 3 on the road. I would lean toward the over. Jeff, who gets it done this week?
Well, I was a little worried about this one coming in, but I do think Dallas is looking strong. My numbers are putting them at about a field goal favorite, just straight up. So I'm taking Dallas straight up in the points.
That's 6 points that you're getting from your number. So that's a pretty good spot to be in on the road. I think the key to the game will be if they can get out and score early and force the Philly to run with them. Because where Philly has been great, and they were great last year at it too, is getting an early lead and then just grinding you down in the second half and playing keep away, right? And if they do that, then Cowboys will lose this thing like they did to the 49ers. If they can keep up, if they can set the tone and the tempo of the game, I think this thing, they run away with this by a field goal at least. Hey, the Giants travel to Las Vegas to take on the Raiders. The Raiders, I don't understand this one. They're favored by 1.5, despite having their head coach and offensive coordinator fired this week and benching Jimmy G in favor of a rookie. Looks like the Raiders season's over. The over-under is set at a steaming 37. Not much to say here. Looks like Jones is back, but the Giants dealt talent this week, and that might affect him as well. I'm definitely betting against the Giants. Against the Raiders. I'm definitely betting against the Giants after their weekend in Vegas. They kind of gave up some talent, and I don't think that's really going to bode well for them. So from here on out, I'm shorting that team. You might get a bump with a new coach here, but their best player Adams was not dealt, and he kind of wanted to be dealt. And then they told him he wasn't going to get dealt, and then they fire the coach, and they're rebuilding. So now it's like he's had 2 wasted seasons in Las Vegas, thinking he was coming here to be the number 1 receiver and set records. He's got to be frustrated. I think the total here is about right. 37, probably going to get under. I'm going to bet against both of these teams the rest of the year. I wouldn't touch either one, but I'm going to go with the Giants, believe it or not, Jeff. Who do you like here in Vegas?
All right, so this gives us our second difference, and it is super close on mine. So I am just going off of a hunch that the coaching change will be a refreshing a bump for the Raiders, and they'll probably play a little more inspired. And the Giants, they did deal Williams at the deadline. You know, they pretty well out of the race for the playoffs in the NFC already. So I don't see them playing as inspired. So I'm going to go with the Raiders here.
Yeah, now look, I'm betting this game because Jeff, you and I have to bet games straight up. I'm telling everyone out there, I would not put a dime on this game. I wouldn't put a nickel on this game because it can go either way. It's just like this game's a lottery ticket. There's no value either way here. It's just like you're just guessing at this point. Hey, Sunday night the Bills travel to to take on the Bengals and find themselves underdogs +2. I've seen 1.5 as well. The over-under is 49 and a hook. Most questionables on the Bills defensive side of the ball, as well as Allen with a shoulder. He was held out of practice, but I expect him to play. Hamlin will be a football decision, not an emotional one from Coach Dermott. And if he plays, I don't know if he's going to. It could give the Bills a lift here. Either way, this is going to be an emotional game. Mixon and Brown have been questionable almost every week, but they look good to go. Hendrickson was out of practice, and Gaither carries a questionable status as well on the defensive side of the ball for the Bengals. This is an emotional game, and both teams need a win to stay competitive in their respective divisions. Stats tell you to go with the Bills. I like the Bengals, but I'm going to bet the Bills. Jeff, straight up. Jeff, who do you like Sunday night?
So it was a toss-up between this and Dallas, but this is my free pick. So I do think it's going to be an emotional lift. I think when they're inspired and really playing fast, Buffalo's a really good team. I think some weeks they just get a little, I don't know, sidetracked. But this one will be something they focus in on. They'll be ready. The Hamlin storyline is going to be out there. And then just statistically, straight up, I would probably give them a slight edge anyway. So I'm going Buffalo for my free pick.
Buffalo free pick from Jeff. Take the 2 points. Grab them now. Make sure it doesn't go to 1.5. You want to grab it at 2 if they're going to go this way. Hey, Monday night, Chargers travel out east to face the Jets and are favored by 3 on the road with the over-under set at 40. No love for the Jets despite the 4-3 record as they got it done in a defensive struggle against the Giants last week. The Jets have lost the last 4 in this one going back to 2012 with the Chargers. The Jets' passing attack is anemic, and they're 31st in the league. Their defense is 8th in points allowed, and in their last 3 wins, they have kept their opponent to 21, 14, and 10, including a win over the Eagles. And quite frankly, they should have got a win over the Kansas City Chiefs. They got robbed on that one during that week. Meanwhile, the Chargers are 9th in scoring at 25 a game, 7th in yards at 380 a game, a pure strength-on-strength matchup. A big concern here about Herbert's thumb and Palmer's day-to-day, but Johnson looked good in his increased role, but more concerned about Connor McGovern. Yes, the Jets center here. Tippmann and Schweitzer filled in, and the offensive line, I see a Dallas Cars-like potential situation here with the injuries to the O-line. So I'm going with the Jets straight up. I'm going with the Chargers straight up. Jeff, who gets it done here on Monday night?
I am also taking the Chargers straight up, but it's one that I think the Jets are probably going to have the strength on strength. They're going to win for the most part. It's just that their non-strength on the offense is so bad that I don't think they can take advantage of it. So I think it's a low-scoring game.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a low-scoring game as well. I agree with that, Jeff. Well, let's recap our free picks. I got the Ravens -5.5 versus the Hawks, and Jeff has the Bills +2 versus the Bengals. So now we're going to move on to the next segment with our straight up picks. So tonight Jeff, I got the Steelers over the Titans. Who do you got?
I have Tennessee in this one.
Tennessee. Okay. I got Chiefs over the Dolphins.
I do as well.
I got Ravens over the Hawks.
Same.
Browns over the Cardinals.
Same.
Bucks over the Texans.
Yes. Same here.
Saints over the Bears.
Yes.
Falcons over the Vikings.
Same here.
Green Bay over the Rams.
I do as well.
Patriots over the Commanders.
Yes.
I got the Colts over the Panthers. You got the Panthers,
I got the
right?
Panthers. Here's a difference. Yep.
I got Giants over the Raiders.
I've got the Raiders.
You got the Raiders. Cowboys over the Eagles.
Same here.
Bills over the Bengals.
Yes.
Chargers over the Jets.
Correct.
All right, there you have it, rookies. That is our week 9 pick straight up. We are gonna keep working. Jeff's up by 7. So hopefully his
Three
picks,
differences.
his 3 differences fail and I start making claw my way back. Jeff, I'll give you the last word.
So this is right at the end of my second set of the season. So other than injuries, I think after this week, we and Vegas will have a pretty good idea of the teams. So it's going to start getting just really tight as far as the differences. So I won't have the huge numbers, I don't think, that I've been using before. So it's going to be a little tight for the next few weeks until we get down to teams not caring and that type of thing.
Yeah, I think the trades we got to definitely factor in. It's something that we haven't done in the past. But I agree with you. I think Vegas, the numbers are going to get tighter, and that's going to be until we get to the non-carrying, and that's really where I think you make the most money in the league is when teams start carrying. When you pick those teams that have stopped carrying, that's when I think you really make your money.
Yep, that's it for this week.
All right, rookies, good luck. We'll see you next week.